Okay, what it is, what's up? Got your podcast in the cut. Now, listen, with this one, I turned the monitoring off, so I don't know how the audio's going to come out, but I'm tired of hearing myself talk while I'm speaking. It, it's beyond insinuating, um, incendiary. It hurts. It's painful. I don't want to hear myself speak when I record a podcast. Anyway, this is gonna be another one of these episodes that are not the 2013 music compilation. But I haven't released an episode in 2 weeks. I'm like, I gotta do an episode. On my podcast feed, I dropped one of my previous video reviews from YouTube onto the feed just to have something there. So it's one of my favorite reviews. Is Beau is Afraid by Ari Aster, one of the worst movies of all time. So hopefully you find it interesting. If you want me to do more videos, just dropping more videos from the YouTube feed on here, I can do that. I used to do it all the time, no problem. Anyway, like I said, this won't be the 2013 music re-review. It's gonna be something else. I'm kind of spurred to do this because I scrolled my Twitter and I saw another Elon piece of stupidity as far as Twitter goes. And listen, you can't sit down and make a podcast for every dumb thing you see from Twitter nowadays. I refuse to call it what it actually is now. I won't. I won't do it. Uh, I won't do it. I'm not calling it that. But the point of the matter is, this one is what it's either going to be. What is it? The death knell or death knell, the end game for Twitter, or it's going to pretty much prove that Twitter is unkillable, at least in a complete holistic sense of death. It can obviously wither as it has already, but if it can survive this, it's not dying. It's just going to be in a almost in the arms of an angel type state for the rest of its time. Kind of a almost a malpractice in how malnourished Twitter is. But we'll see. Outside of that, I got some other little small stuff that I can kind of fuck around with. We'll make it work. I'll make this work. Might be a shorter episode, but I'll make it work. Okay, we're back. So I'm gonna read this directly from Twitter support, which is literally just at support, so people don't think I'm misquoting. It is stupidity. They could use some kind of horseshit rationale that I'm hating on Elon. I'm not hating on Elon. I think he's a fucking terrible person, but there's a lot of terrible people in the world, and he's one of the worst ones. So at support, starting today, we're testing a new program in parentheses, not a bot, in New Zealand and the Philippines. New unverified accounts will be required to sign up for. Whoa! I didn't even read this part before I came on here. New unverified accounts will be required to sign up for an annual $1 subscription to be able to post and interact with other posts. Within this test, existing users are not affected. This new test was developed to bolster our already successful, ha ha ha, efforts to reduce spam, manipulation of our platform, and bot activity, while balancing platform accessibility with a small fee amount. It is not a profit driver. I'll repeat that because I know I was fucking making every kind of gastric noise in the world. This new test was developed to bolster our already successful efforts to reduce spam, manipulation of our platform, and bot activity, while balancing platform accessibility with a small fee amount. Again, it is not a platform driver. The struggling platform that has lost tons of ad revenue since pre Elon, that has found tons of potential advertising platform or consumers leave the platform. Not a profit driver. Okay. And so far, subscription options have proven to be the main solution that works at scale. They have more details. Some of their replies, Zach SBT. Most of the bot platforms are nowadays already paid for a checkmark, though. You can kind of scroll through and see a few bot platforms that are, or bot motherfuckers that have check. What the fuck am I saying? Bot motherfuckers that have check marks on their shit. I don't cut anything out, right? We're just flowing. If I sound like a fucking idiot, I'm okay with sounding like an idiot. I'm just out here reviewing. I get these. Check my profile to get. I'm just reading through replies. Check my profile to get launched. Spam multiple times a day. Reduce spam. Working better algorithms instead of making people pay. So, when USD equals 1,000 Argentinian pesos, that's a lot of money. All right, and surely a bot farm is willing to pay $1 for that level of assets and profit. I'm not gonna read through every tweet here, but the point being, this is like basically they've hidden a ton of their either test for profit puppies or just dumb shit they've done that they didn't intend on doing. But I forgot my fucking air humidifier has been running for this whole time. Um, let me go turn that off. So basically, they're saying that, hey guys, I'm over here so you can't really hear me. Hey guys, hey. A little bit of ASMR for you. Hey guys, hey. Are profit drivers. There's no way we'd sit here and tell you, hey, us taxing every fucking person that ever signs up for Twitter for the rest of perpetuity. That's not a profit driver. It's to reduce bots. Even though we openly allow bots to pay money for our platform already because we don't verify shit with the verification system that we once had. It's gone. Unless you're like a fucking multi-billionaire. But if you're just a motherfucker that wants a check mark, you got it. You got it. You want to pay $8 for a check mark and appear valid? You got it. It's yours. You can be at LeBron James if you want to. Now, I know, like, behind the scenes, to obviously curb from fucking stupidity, even people who said they were not going to pay money for the check mark were given the check mark because to avoid stupid situations such as someone stealing LeBron James's fucking Twitter or whatever. But even Elon, like, realizes he's fucking stupid. He's not that fucking stupid. Anyway, I'm not calling him stupid and saying that, like, I know more than Elon about how to run a business or whatever you fucking cocksuckers want to fucking say. Literally, the defense mechanisms with Elon, I'm not going to go too deep into this because you've heard this from everybody 1,000 times over. The defense mechanisms for Elon fans, Elon eaters, is that you have to somehow come from some sense of authority of having, I guess, succeeded more than he did to criticize anything that he's done, even though that would make everybody uncriticizable that's ever achieved anything from the vast majority of people, which I guess some people like to believe that's how the world should work. If it did, there'd be no progress whatsoever, ever, because, keep this in mind, the motherfuckers who fund people like Elon are you and me. And if we don't ask for shit, they won't give us shit we want. And if they don't give us the shit we want, it won't really be progress for the human people. It'll just be the shit they want to do. Now, I will say, obviously, Elon has not done shit that a lot of people want to do. I would contend it's regression more than progression. But the point of the matter is, I mean, the logic still applies in that saying that he, kind of does listen to some people, just not the majority of people. Just, people that meet right his shit, as well as has 87 kids. Maybe they like the shit he does, except some of his kids fucking hate him. But outside of the ones that hate him, maybe as the echo chamber, his kids, the women that he basically leaves behind to go fuck more women, which I can't be mad at that. But it's just like, I don't know what we're... I think there's too many people that really just neutrally appreciate Elon's Twitter reign so far. Keep in mind, I haven't said X yet. I haven't called it X one time, and I won't be calling it X yet. I won't even accidentally call it X. So that's kind of pretty much what... I guess if I really was going to say anything else about this, in a macro sense, it's pretty clear that almost every short-term thing that Twitter is doing is with the goal of trying to subsist, trying to make money, trying to make money, trying to make a profit. which it failed to do that before Elon, and has somehow failed to do it even more since Elon's taken the place over. So, excuse me. If we go through this continually and you keep on seeing Elon do more shit that, on his face value would make it appear he's trying to kill Twitter, it's pure desperation. I mean, at this point, they don't have too many cards left to play other than ways of scalping existing users somehow by reducing features, paywalling them. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire platform is paywalled at some point. I mean, this basically will do that for users in those affected regions that sign up. They are going to be paywalled. Like, to fucking view the platform, essentially, they'll be fucking asked to pay money. I do imagine this will be a thing in the macro sense where you'll be able to view tweets, basically all of the functionality, which is essentially what the tweet says. All of the functionality will be hidden behind a paywall, more or less. So, I mean, that's basically, if you don't, which I use Twitter browser in the mobile app more than I use the app. I pretty much don't use the app at all, really. And with that, after they did the initial implementation to basically ban embedding, disallow you to view tweets unless you're signed in, all that stuff, it pretty much like put a straight up like a firewall or just a Great Wall of China on outside viewing of tweets. They've walked back some of it, but the point is now with that, if you go into somebody's Twitter profile without being logged into Twitter, you will see some highlights from their account. You won't be able, obviously, to view any comments. You can't access any of the other tabs, like the media tab, which was already there before. But basically, it's pretty much hardwalled into a certain spot where you can only see so many tweets. You don't see them in chronological order, and you can't interact with it, obviously. So it's more or less, they've been building up to this. Like, they've been trying to do everything, like the embedding shit. If you post on forums like me, a fucking old man, and you try to interact with certain embeds, like click the tweet to go onto the tweet onto Twitter, it what it did in certain aspects was that it basically disallowed you from doing it because you're not logged in. If you were logged in, I think for most people, like, it's worked fine. Another spot where this comes up as a problem is if you are a little bit of a, nasty guy, and you like to, click those link trees, kind of see what may be in there. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but basically, if you click an OnlyFans link in a lot of instances, and you click it from a link tree, not OnlyFans, Twitter. If you pull up Twitter, I'm thinking, my mind is so fucking rotted that I thought about Linktree and I automatically thought OnlyFans. But if you go to Linktree and then click Twitter, because like virtually nobody is like logged into, I don't know if it's possible to like go into an app's browser and then stay logged into that app's browser. But if you went to Instagram, click Linktree, go onto Twitter, you're gonna more often than not be logged out. So if you try to go like view that person's Twitter, and in some instances in my life at least, you can't view the account from Linktree because you're not logged in. It'll pull up the kind of the, I don't know what to call it, but like the wall that says, hey, to view this content, sign in or sign up or whatever. So there's stuff like that already like has come about since the changes and all that shit. So it really is going to get to a point pretty much where the entire, I wouldn't be surprised the entire thing is paywalled. Like even just a few tweets is paywalled at some point. The signs are only on the wall. Everything they need to do to make that happen has pretty much already been implemented or will be implemented. So a lot of people like me are waiting for this shit. I can save so much time in my life not going on to Twitter. I know people are going to say, you fucking lame ass fucking loser. You could do that right now if you really wanted to do it. No, motherfucker. Obviously, I'm addicted to the fucking content on Twitter. That's why I'm still there. I'm not there because of fucking Elon or anything like that. I'm just addicted to a constant feed of fucking small dopamine hits into my fucking brain cells. So no, motherfucker. I can't leave. The dopamine is still my fucking brain's reserves. I need it. But hey, if it costs fucking $20 to use Twitter and get all the features, no, I motherfucker won't be using it. I will tell you right now, money is a huge motivator against addiction. If you had to pay for pussy 24/7, you'd be a lot less addicted to pussy. That being said, some people pay for OnlyFans, so I guess that logic does not apply in every single instance. Anyway, that's it for me. Let's go into another segment. Okay. Um, I don't want to come out here like r slash anti work here, but I got a little story that I try not to make too person identifiable because I'd like to not get fired for telling this story and give my opinions on it, but you never know. So basically, I work at a place that is very traditional, you know, like life draining office bullshit. You know, flat layout, pods, open, a ton of like beaming lights that make you literally want to just fly into the sun like Icarus and just get it over with. A lot of decor that's largely irrelevant and completely inconsequential to any kind of happiness. Um, and then generally just people that are good people, but you're kind of like, okay, why are we in the shared trauma and why none of us talking about it? It's kind of like being in, I don't want to say like, I don't know how crazy I want to get about this because I want to like be employed after I say this story, and I don't know if I will be if I say the story the way I want to say it. But let's just keep it broad. Um, let's not say anything offensive, even though like the metaphor I wanted to use was very offensive. It's kind of like being in a fucking Vienna can and you're the sausages. Like we're alive, but we're just pretty much waiting to get chewed up alive. And speaking about being just on the line to be chewed up and fucking devoured by some cretin, um, one of my colleagues, pretty cool person, very new, very down to earth, very in a nice way. Like I think some people are gonna like look at this as an insult, like aloof. Like she's a little bit airy, but she's a cool person, right? Not to say she's dumb, but just airy. She came on, I think, in like top of October, bottom of September, right? First real job, just graduated, all that shit. Very cool person. Has never been anything like this type of infrastructure ever before, and has not really done a software job. So and as a background for our job here, there's no real metrics. There's no real scale. There's no real tiered sense of leadership. It's just one person that owns the place, is the founder of the place, and basically whatever they feel like is right or wrong is done literally in an instant and without really much pretense. It's just all very ephemeral shit. So that's the backdrop. I could get into. I probably will get into it later, but we're just gonna keep it professional at this moment. So that's the owner of the place. It's the person who hired this girl. And we'll call her Suzanne. Suzanne kind of came into it with a more relaxed approach, like just basically to learn. Because if you have such a transient, horseshit way of operating, that obviously affects the way you train people. So pretty much our mechanism of training people, and this is just they've just advanced to this shit like the last 4 months. Before then, you were just basically on your fucking own, just doing absolutely nothing, pretty much, except doing this archaic ass project from like 15 years ago. I'm not bullshitting. The project that they gave you when I signed on was like 15 years ago. Most archaic shit of all time. Now it's a little bit more up to date. The project they give you, however, there's still pretty much no game plan, no set real timeline on what you should be doing, and you would think higher level individuals will figure out how to get this to happen. Well, like I said, there's only one owner of the place. There's only one C-suite. There's only one fucking person that does anything at the place. So basically the game plan to kind of modernize this structure is to ask the people who are just trying to survive every day without getting eaten alive like Vienna sausages, hey, I gotta clean that up at the fucking audio there. But hey, how would you guys like to go about designing our learning system? Nobody. No. And by the way, like, there's so much. Um, I forget the word I used earlier, but there's so much handing off of tasks to other people at this place that you would basically ask yourself, like, what is the top level actually doing here? Basically nothing. Just pretty much compiling everything else other people do, and basically passing it off like it was a collaborative effort. It's not. Basically, everybody else does the work, and they kind of compile it and just give it to top level, and top level just writes it in stone with the Ten Commandments. So, in this situation here, what we got going on here is that, um, I guess rather unfortunately, the person, Suzanne, was taken in stride because she had no real benchmarks of progress. She pretty much had what was a string of very, uh, how should we say, lightly scheduled quote unquote tests. And here's the structure of the situation. So basically, she'd be like basically a telemarketer, more or less. Basically, a telemarketer, essentially, an internet telemarketer. So she would sit here and say, first, you need to learn the product. So you basically go in, you do the project. You have to be tested on what you've learned. So it's supposed to be regularly scheduled tests. They were not regularly scheduled at all. Um, they were just done whenever, basically, that time was had. Which, I mean, I say this like it sounds like there's a gap missing in somebody else's job. But the problem is the people who are testing her on the content all have their own shit to do any given moment of the workday. So it's like, hey, stop taking calls that are coming in from current clients and help train this person on content instead of just hiring somebody to fucking actually kind of do this stuff, you know? So obviously, I've told you 1,000 times now, this shit is so poorly ran, it's honestly laughable. But basically, because people have had shit to do, people have been out, blah, blah, blah. She was like doing shit like a month ago that she was just now getting tested on like last week. And it was like, she was behind, obviously, in the general like test book or whatever you want to call it. She was behind in that. So, as you would imagine, the test didn't go too well either because you're trying to retain stuff while actively adding on to stuff. I mean, you're doing shadowing, you're talking to people about new features, all that hubble. So, yeah, I mean, you've like because it's content that you didn't get trained on diligently, and you are actively learning new stuff, you forget about it. So, okay. Now, one thing for her is that the next step kind of after that, after you do the testing, you pretty much get tested in mock calls. Like I said, a telemarketer, it's like a fucking a call support center. Very office space ass shit, just bland. It's like fucking avocado. It's an avocado ass job. So, call support center. You get trained on mock calls from top level, and you're supposed to start doing chats. We have chats and we have calls. So people who do the chats kind of can get a feel for what you need to do in terms of responding to the clients without having to kind of get exposed on the field, the front line, getting fucking gunned up by our asshole clients on the calls. Which I don't have a problem with that structure. I mean, calls are fucking hard. I've done tons of them. They suck. The clients suck, but it's another level of engagement with clients. I understand why it exists, but it fucking sucks. The chats are way easier, obviously, less stress, more time allotted to kind of answering this shit. Basically, everything you could imagine, and the difference between those two like forms of interacting. She didn't do any of the chats really. She did like I think maybe one or two chats basically in total. So she was behind the chats, which she was pretty much here for like 2 months or so, give or take. And I know for me, when I started on, I was doing chats in the first month. That's because I was bored as fuck. And like I said, structure of this was fucking terrible to the point where I finished the project in like 2 weeks, the starter project. So I was just basically, because there's no fucking well-run way of any of this happening, I just threw myself into the chats because literally there's nothing else to do, and I was going to sleep every day, just doing the same shit like a cartoon. And you don't get a desk. She just got a desk after 2 fucking months, so you don't really get a desk at any real expedient process. So I'm just sitting on the motherfucker's desk, just watching them do shit. I'm like, all right, well, this is fucking terrible. I gotta do something to accelerate this process. She just got her desk in 2 months. I got my desk after like maybe a month or 3 weeks, something like that. And the desk I got, by the way, had fucking mold spewing out of it. It was like literally nauseous, poisonous fumes that came out at a certain point because of how long the mold was pontificating there and gallivanting up my fucking nostril holes. So I just broke down and said, "Hey, I'm getting fucking killed out here. Give me another fucking desk." So I got another desk, but she got another desk. She got a desk finally, and she got fucking booted out. Like, as you could probably assume, this story is going to this point. She got fired yesterday, Monday, and just really like weird shit. Because basically, we have a meeting on Mondays. The most bureaucratic, banal, brown nosing alliteration bullshit that anyone has ever done with any Monday morning in the entirety of civilized workspaces. So basically, we're going here, we're going in, and we're fucking sitting here at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, which, if you don't know, it's fucking early as hell. I mean, they don't even start school at fucking 7:30. So, by the way, if you can hear the fucking cunts upstairs, I can't help them. These fucking poor cunts, and their fucking need to just scrape the fucking floor, which is my ceiling, 24/7. I don't know if it's for fucking sustenance, like fucking dust mites, or what they do, but it's the most bullshit, annoying stuff all the time, and it always happens when I'm recording a fucking podcast. Anyway, so fuck them upstairs, but basically we'll get back to the content. And basically all the meetings are since again, top level here is basically doesn't do anything all day except sit in his office and kind of like micromanage. We have the chats. He comes micromanages the chats, or he walks by and micromanages people, just kind of doing their job. Because he's so hands off, so is fair. We get to a point where he wants to be updated on what people are doing. So basically, for some ungodly reason, we spent an hour and a half, not all of it on just this, but summarizing this shit we did the past week. Again, for what reason, I have no fucking clue. I mean, it really is the most annoying shit of all time. I mean, if you can imagine anything dumber than having a CRM platform basically tracks everything someone fucking does. I mean, we have to log all the shit we do, chats, calls, meetings, whatever. If you can think of anything dumber than having a platform that logs all that shit, so it's like an easily identifiable metrics, and then saying we need to have a meeting to talk about basically the same shit. Literally, sometimes we just literally would just go over shit that we talked about or that was done in a chat that's easily viewable, and try to get someone's fucking perspective on what happened there. Here's your perspective. It's in the fucking message. Just view the message. So, anyway, it gets to that kind of point where you're just kind of going through just pedantic nonsense, where you're just repeating shit you already did a week later. So if you can't remember because you did a fucking week later, contrary to popular belief, most people when they leave for the day, forget all the shit they did as a means of survival at their job, because most people's jobs fucking suck. So that's a situation where most people at that place try to dump out as much as they can. However, older people older than me that have been there for however many years, are willing to just kind of compartmentalize, take as much knowledge as they need for the meeting, and just dump that shit out, get their brownie points, go home for the day. We don't really go home for the day. We sit there for another 10 hours after 7:30, but we'll just pretend like it could be so gracious as we could leave or do something else more productive in our lives after waking up at 6 a.m. to go to a 7:30 meeting where we just repeat bullshit we already did. Anyway, so after we do the repeating of nonsense and the brown nosing, we do more brown nosing, and basically imagine like the stupidest fucking interview you've ever done, like a job interview that's just complete open concept. The pitcher throws a ball to you that's seemingly not meant to be hit. He throws it way out of the strike zone, basically complete out of any chance you could have to hit it, and he expects you to hit it. Like he throws it to have you hit the ball, but he throws it 25 feet to the left of your position, basically beating some fucking person in the stadium in the fucking head. That's more or less like what the rest of these meetings are. Just complete conceptual time wasters that are made by somebody who has nothing better to do with the majority of their day. And these rigmaroles, these circular statements, really they're questions, but they're more like statements, where we will say, okay, here's an example. So let's say we have one person with an issue, and what we're supposed to do is reduce that one person to a small minority, but because for whatever reason, top level only can find time in the day to just pour over chats all day. He sees the chat, and somehow the client is supposed to be a minority and have very little importance. Becomes the topic of a meeting for an hour and a half, obviously signifying they have a lot more importance than a silent minority should. But because, again, this person has something else to do with the majority of their day, that silent minority becomes the loudest voice in the entire fucking room. They just like to speak loud enough. So let's just say you have this person that basically the software doesn't upload photos. Let's just say that the software does not upload photos correctly for them. So, because it'll say it actually doesn't, like it just does not correctly work for just them for whatever reason. Let's parse through this for a second. So we sit there and we kind of analyze what's happening there, and then we go around the room and ask everybody that is being forced essentially to come to this meeting. We ask everybody, how would you approach talking to this pissed off client? Why? There's only one acceptable way to do that without getting fired. I'm telling you this for a fact. It's one way to talk to any client that has an issue without being reprimanded and fired. And more often than not, you get reprimanded when you get fired. So it's pretty much a hand-in-hand thing. What is the fucking point of acting as if you have real autonomy? I don't get that shit. And it's not just, my specific job. You have no autonomy at any fucking job that is of that ilk. If you do an office job, a fucking McDonald's type job, any like client facing job that's like a frontline segment where you have to like basically eat shit for the company because you're the quote unquote representative of the company to that client. There's only one way to answer that shit. Now, it may be different for your company than my company, but the point of the matter is, it's all eating shit and saving face for the company. So to pretend as if there's autonomy in the way to craft the message is a complete waste of goddamn time. And I mean that to say that like this is basically every scenario that we run through for an hour in these meetings. Every single one is potentially nonsense. So because we ran out of shit to say with pretty fucking quick this time around, the scenario didn't hold up as much as it usually does. We had like 30 minutes left, so the new girl, Suzanne, she gets the proverbial keyboard, and they basically tell her or ask her, hey, we want a new person's perspective on how to use the software or whatever. So what we're going to do here is we're going to ask you to just add this thing. There's a feature that we have in our system. You can add an item, basically. So we'll just walk through add an item and tell us. It's hard to even say because you have to have the context of what this shit is. But basically, it's a surface level item that you would add in a certain industry. Let's just equate it to something else. So in McDonald's, let's say you added a fucking custom cheeseburger onto your order. more or less, this is what this is. You're just building a cheeseburger out. You're personalizing it for what you want to do. So for Suzanne here, she needed to explain it. I say needed because this was an actual prompt from top level. They asked her to explain each field. I've like now tossed myself like multiple times in trying to explain this analogy. I should go for the analogy, but I'm going to come follow through on it. So basically, I'm going to shorten up a little bit though. Basically, Suzanne was asked about each field in the cheeseburger menu. What are pickles? What are lettuce? What are relish? Uh, why is there a combo button? Should you put in a real uh, quantity here, or does it do it by itself? Basically, like the most banal, like self-explanatory stuff of all time. They asked her to explain all this stuff as like a new user of the software, and predictably, for somebody who hasn't even used the software much, much less having done it in a way to kind of aid a client, she bombed that conceptual open-ended horseshit. Basically, she went through it. She inputted numbers and letters, kind of like somebody who was just walking through it, casually would, like basically like pretty like basically like a like if somebody who like never did a job before, the way they would do this was pretty much the way she kind of would do it. But she did walk through it and ask questions, kind of like, okay, what's the point of this? What's the point of that? But as far as like explaining why these fields are what they are, or why they're even there, or what they do in a practical sense, she didn't do any of that. So I'll give her that she bombed the test. The problems of the test really had no structure. So I don't know how you bomb a test that has no structure. In my opinion, if you ask somebody conceptual bullshit and they give you a bad answer, it's your fault for asking a stupid ass question. But I don't pay Suzanne to come to work, so whatever. So she bombed that shit. And then she kind of got asked, kind of like, where are you at on the project? Like I told you, the project requires you to be tested to progress on the project. So she wasn't being tested on it, so she didn't progress on it, I guess. So the horse chases the carrot, I guess, type of thing. So it didn't go well for her in that meeting. This meeting is pretty much like more or less like a way for outside of like him filling his time because he has nothing else to do. It's also a chance for him to like pretty much like fail you if as much as he can, so he can fire your ass. There's no win in this meeting. Like if you do well enough to not get fired or be made fun of in the meeting, it it really like is not a W. There's no W to be had here. It's pretty much either you survive or you lose. And I guess she lost in this sense. So this was 7:30, right? So we go through that entire fucking meandering ass day. Pretty low activity day in terms of chats and shit like that. But she didn't do any chats, and I don't think she did any shadowing. I don't really know what she did today, but she was cool. She asked questions to other people. Tried to be try to speak to top level. Try to be engaged in stuff that was happening. Tried her best, considering that she really know what to do. And at the end of the day, at 5:15, more or less, so after 9.5 hours, damn near, of being at this fucking place, he pulls into his office. Actually, first he pulls his assistant into a meeting because, again, can't wipe his own ass, delegating. After meeting with the assistant, he then calls Suzanne into his office and basically fires her. Quotes a lack of product knowledge. As you could imagine, based on the way I told the story, that's going to be a pretty major point there. And nothing else really. That was pretty much kind of how he presented it. And she got fired at the end of the day, literally a long ass 10-hour day. Was told that she'd get, I guess, 2 weeks of pay or some shit like that, like 2 weeks of pay after being fired. Which some people may offer severance packages. That's to make sure or to hope that you avoid unemployment, because unemployment would be much long lasting, and affect them a lot more than just 2 weeks of pay. Hopefully she does unemployment anyway and like tasks the shit out of them. That's what I hope anyway. But basically she goes to some of the people that she liked the most, in her time working there, and goes talk to them, kind of presents the situation. shakes their hand. Also, very, very honorable type shit to do. And I come out the bathroom and like I see her like kind of my peripheral walking back to my desk. She comes up to me and she like shakes her, puts her hands out. And I was like, "What's happening here?" I looked at her hand before I looked at her face. I saw she was like dad's like a Jamaican like smoking type like red eyes, like crying, like holding it back type shit. Um, and she just told me, I want to shake your hand. I want to explain what happened. I got fired. Blah blah blah. Obviously we didn't talk too long because it was the end of the day, and she was literally trying to hold it in, like I just break out crying. And I mean, I was just sitting there like thinking I'm on my way back. I kind of, I hate the place. At least I, hate certain aspects of the place. I like the people. The people are cool. The job isn't that bad, honestly. Like it's fucking terrible, but like as far as fucking terrible jobs, it's not that bad. It's just obviously some of the things you could probably gather from me having told the story the way I told it. And so the aspects of the job I don't like, aspects that are very easily removed. The people were just a little bit smarter about the way they operate. Just getting the fuck out the way would be the solution there. But bureaucracy and not having anything else to do, So I was on my way, back to the crib, just driving, thinking, I'm like, this is really ridiculous. Like, this is absolutely insane shit that she got fired for this. And I was like, talking to my mom. My mom's done some shitty jobs in her life. I was just thinking out loud, I was looking through, some other shit. I ended up talking to her, testing her like on LinkedIn earlier today, kind of got some more context of what happened. It was just that thing. Like this is how a lot of these jobs work. I'm saying all this to say this is how this shit typically works in a lot of situations. You will not have real analysis on the way your boss feels about you, which is more important than anything else, any metrics, any like lower level connections, any of that shit is all ethereal, all ephemeral, all temporary. There is nothing, especially in a small company, there is nothing more important than how your boss feels about you. And you see a lot of boomers that have like ate the shit and kissed the boots say that remote work is bad and that like connections are bad for your continued growth. Some of them are legit saying that in good faith. Because there are some people that own companies. I know it sounds insane, but I think it's coupled well with Elon Musk. There are some people who own successful ass companies that contribute nothing to it being successful. Outside of the simple fact that they fronted the money, they got the company going, they got it off the ground, and then everybody else, all the grunts, carried it to where it is from there. That is essentially Elon's life since Tesla got his bailout or subsidy or whatever to survive in the later 2000s. That's more or less my company. I mean, everybody that has a job at that company could do their job without top level even being there. It's happened before for months on end. Since I worked there, it's happened before for months on end. It's more of a better more of a better office at least when that happens. That scenario occurs. So the reason why some of those boomers are in good faith when they say that is because, simply put, you can work your ass off as a remote worker. You can have the best metrics. You can be at every Slack. You can message everybody you want to and stay in contact. You can go out your ass, go out your way, put your ass out there and do extra work. Be willing to have your phone on, have notifications coming in all day and night. You can do all that shit. But if your boss just thinks that you're an extra like expense rather than an actual asset, you're out of here, dude. And it's just that simple. There's no real rhyme or reason behind why these people that are multimillionaires and even billionaires can survive and even thrive with being such idiotic, well, quote unquote, leaders. But simply put, I think it just goes to highlight how incredible the workers, the lower level workers are at some of these successful companies, especially in tech. I'm pretty much thinking all this in light of tech, but I'm sure it applies to other companies, other industries as well. But in tech, dude, there's so much failure on the top level. And so many people get the brunt of that bureaucratic leadership failure. And unfortunately, that's how it's always going to be because, the people who make it up there. If you ever watched Succession, I'm gonna spoil the end of Succession here. So if you somehow haven't watched that, but Tom Wamsgams becomes the CEO of Roy. I forgot whatever it's called, but basically the Roy company. And Tom pretty much wins because the guy who buys out the Roy company is like, hey, you suck dick the best. You have really no other definable attributes that would make you the leader outside of you kiss ass the best. You have seen every type of battle. You have fought every type of way to survive a job. You want to put your ass out there and be thrown off the barrel to survive out in this landscape. You're a good puppet. People like view these things and like think them as some people. Some people are a little bit more intelligent and a little bit more introspective, but some people really just look at these like type of like works like TV film and just think it's like just a show. That shit happens in real tech companies. A lot of what Succession happens in real tech companies, especially legacy tech companies. But that shit happens. Some of that shit that's happened in Succession happened in my company. And Tom being the brightest star under the sun. I don't know, being the brightest asteroid under the sun, whatever. It's because he was the cockroach was unkillable. That is how a lot of these companies work. Being the cockroach that is willing to eat the crumbs, do the shit no one else wants to do, the grunt work, and survive. That is what people get promoted over. That's what people make money off of. They don't make money oftentimes because they're the best candidate. That's not why some people get promotions. That's not why a lot of people get promotions, in my opinion. I'm not saying this isn't about my company per se. Like, I feel like pretty much everybody is on the same level. There are not really promotions in the traditional sense. It's just you get more shit thrown on your plate and you don't get paid for it. That's not a promotion. That just sucks. So, but as I've come to study more of these type companies, you can see it. You can see it in the people that you see run the maybe not the C level, but like the middle manager, so to speak. These are people that are not much different than people that they lord over, but simply put, because they are the ones that deep throated the upper managers better. They lick the balls and suck the dick at the same time simultaneously. You can go watch some of these videos. Those people on these videos are the middle manager because they did their thing the best way and got the best orgasm at the fucking boss. Those are the people who ascend. That's how the shit works. I don't want people to like think I'm like a doomer or whatever. I'm not a doomer, but it's just simply the way it fucking works. It's not relationships with other people that make remote shit necessary. It's the people who pay you simply want to possess more of you. And that is why it's necessary to do that shit. It is not at all remotely requisite because it's to optimize the way the company is ran. I know motherfuckers that do remote work that do more work than people in the office in totality combined. At my place, there are people that do remote work at my place that get more shit done than everybody in person for their same department combined. It has no effect whatsoever. It's just simply archaic practices from archaic people with an archaic way of thinking. And simply put, they've got to eat doing that nonsense for so long. They're not progressive whatsoever. I would contend that same malpractice, that same almost bigoted trait of thought pervades in every single situation you see where people are basically doing forced return to office. I would contend, in just about every one of those type companies, you can find a massive trace of what I'm describing in those top level C suites. You can't put truth serum and ask them, obviously, but if you could, I guarantee you to get kind of what I'm saying here. We need to make sure that our leases are paid off and we're getting value for those leases. We got to make sure that we got people that we can be creepy to, women that we can be creepy towards, women that we have a power dynamic with. We got to make sure that we have quote unquote friends to talk to, friends that we're paying to talk to for 10 hours a day. It's got to be all that. That's what it is. It's not anything to do with metrics. For them, but I would say 90% of instances, maybe are some where people are just jacking off in their fucking house instead of getting work done. But those are very few and far between. Anyway, we gotta get out of here. I'm gonna do my recommendations. This went a lot longer than I thought it would, but I'm gonna do my recommendations after this. God help me if I get fired for that segment. It had to be done either way. I mean, I'm not really mad at it, but hopefully I'm not unemployed because of that segment. It had to be done again, but you always hate being unemployed, don't you? Anyway, some of my recommendations are some recent listens. That's some new blood. I think I did Var Dyer by Arrow Sweatshirt the last time, but if I didn't, Var Dyer, or maybe Var Dyer by Earl and The Alchemist. One of my top 15 albums of the year, definitely. Um, it's kind of weird with some of these more recent Earl projects, kind of trying to like gauge how tangible they are sometimes, but you can't go wrong with Earl lyrically, and Alchemist as a producer is in the same bots. This one has a lot more of a Vince Staples approach, who I don't think was on any songs on the streaming or not streaming the NFT version of this album. Basically, it's like I think 3 or 4 songs that are different entirely between the two projects, and I think the sequencing might be different too. I think there might be a different track list, but basically, this one is very Vince heavy. As I understand it, Earl, Vince, and Alchemist did a project together, and that project didn't get finished, I believe. But I think Vince and Alchemist have a project, and I think Earl and Vince have a project. So maybe this is kind of a compromise to avoid dropping a half-done trio project. Just this right here. I don't know, but that's a good album. Let me see what else here. Mitski's. Let me see what the album is called. The Lands is inhospitable, and so are we. So basically, this album, a little bit more of a kind of, it's basically a return to form for Mitski. Like I think last album was gonna be like her, the closest thing she could get to like a pop album. That's pretty much what it was for her. And there's some big like tunes on that one. I have to listen to this one again. I only listened to it once, but it's kind of close to kind of that self-deprecating, which I mean, I guess there was self-deprecation on Laurel Hill, but kind of close to like that self-deprecation, introspective, almost like a like imagine like High School Musical and like one of like the downtrodden teens going to the open theater and just play their act out in front of like imaginary people, try to get their act right, try to get like the emotion of their shit right, make it a whole scene. That's more or less what this album is. It's somebody that is sitting there in their designated writing space, sitting there just staring into a wall and basically reflecting their target audience, which it may not be the listeners, it may just be some lover or whatever. But I think Mitski does a really good job, generally speaking, of writing for someone in mind, and she does that very well on this one too. Let me see what else we got here. I like this song. I hate the album, but "Rich Baby Daddy" by Drake, featuring Sexy Red and SZA. The thing with club music is that it's hard to get it wrong, and when you have good enough production, it's really hard to get it wrong. The sample flip off of this song is really good. I mean, it's not anything too crazy, but it's a really good, effective flip. Good club beat. Ceci Red is a pretty good hook off this. It's the first Ceci Red song I've heard, period. She has a very club esque voice. I mean, she looks like, I'm not being misogynistic here, but she looks like somebody that is of, kind of a club background. I think SZA does a good job of kind of, you know, riding the wave here, so to speak. Drake's voice is kind of annoying on here, but he the flow is, this is a good flow for this type of song. Way too fucking long, but I like the song generally speaking. Is that it? Do we have anything else to recommend here? Let me just double check. Yeah, by the way, if you haven't fucked with Jujutsu Kaisen recently, it's getting better and better. Tap back in if you haven't. Um, so this is a playlist here that I kind of fuck with. Oh yeah, I haven't done this one. Album. It's a mixtape basically, but it's on SoundCloud and you can get it for Bandcamp. Maddie Asset's Purple Hearts Garden Club or some shit like that. Purple Hearts Club, I think. Basically, uh, Brad from fucking TV Girl, the main producer, and pretty much the entire being behind TV Girl, more or less. More or less. I mean, he's not the only person there, but the face of it, kind of. Brad has an alternate character in his general universe called Madison Acid, who basically is him with a warped voice, being like kind of a petulant, like kind of like street girl, like a girl that was raised on the street, going through the shit that's happened in the street. Basically being tapped into the trap, damn near. Think like Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, but like instead of like being prostituted, more so like just being a shooter in the streets, kind of thing. It's pretty much more or less the character that Travis Miller slash Ugly Mane did for his first two albums. And we played a circle in Little Ugly Mane or Miss Thug Isolation. Basically, a female version of that character, almost verbatim in terms of subject matter. Not exactly the same level of production, which Brad is a pretty good producer, but it's not like he goes very boom bap with these type of beats. Like it's very like Beastie Boys as production damn near, but like at a modern spin. But like you could if you like listen to Miss Thug Isolation and listen to this album, you can like clearly tell like Brad heard that album and took inspiration from that project, or just I guess Three Six Mafia type music in general, Memphis rap, and he made this shit. So I like everything I described at this point. I like boom bap beats. I like the samples off this project. I like Mr. Thug Isolation, one of my favorite albums of all time. So, and the flows, even though the flows are not very varied in this project, pretty much all the rap ones, for the most part, are a little bit more quicker. Um, there's these like kind of like one-liners that pervade across every song, pretty much, or at least attempts at one-liners in every song, but it's fun. It's like kind of like the shit you listen to as a kid on like a YouTube. Like somebody will like just have fun rapping a cipher, and that's basically what this feels like. So that's why I like this one quite a bit. Um, that's Madison or Maddie Acid's Purple Hearts Club featuring TV Girl. If you haven't ever heard Sierra Farrell, I kind of got back into her again a little bit. Basically, my homeboy were having a pretty open conversation about like just music in general, and we kind of fell on like uh kind of like pop artists that were like a little bit more like barren, or not barren, but bare in how they produce their music, like just very atmospheric, like most country music, like just very here's guitar, very sparse production. Here's somebody going over singing over the stuff, but like Sierra Farrell really has some very interesting songs, like I'm trying to fuck with bluegrass, and for some reason they threw her up as a bluegrass like option, which I don't understand why, but it just made me like listen back to her stuff again because I had the bluegrass shit. So anyway, Sierra Farrell, pretty good artist. If you want to listen to an album her that's good, Long Time Coming is pretty good. In Dreams is one of the biggest songs off of that album. So you want to listen to it, that's cool. That's about it. Damn near an hour. I could go on forever, really. I'm doing good at this podcasting shit. The audio engineering part of it, fucking terrible. Hope I didn't really bust anybody's fucking eardrums. But it happens. Peace.